Hello and welcome to the FnF Oreburgh Gate Draft League preseason introductory video. This is going to be my first impressions. As you may or may not know, this is an NFE league, not fully evolved plus league, which means that not fully evolved Pokemon will be central in this metagame, as well as some basic Pokemon that do not have evolutions. Very few of those. So it's going to be an interesting new league. This is the preseason, so it's a shortened kind of test run of how this league would go, but I'm sure everybody's going to have a lot of fun trying out these new Pokemon and new strategies that are different from the usual, which is Gen 7 OU. So without any further ado, let's jump into what this video is. This is going to be my first impressions video, or rather my initial thoughts. Each team has drafted already, and all the teams are done and good to go. So this is going to be a video that introduces the draft teams as well as the trainers themselves. So let's hop right in and go to it. This is not going to be scripted. This is me just looking at the teams, not for the first time, but pretty much with, like, I haven't thought of the teams yet. So let's see what these first impressions are. So we're going to begin and move into the Battle Pike for our first trainer. This first team is Kiss of Death, headed by Lilith, aka Lilith, and this is someone who has found the league via YouTube. Just like last season we had someone find the league via YouTube, we have one this season as well. If you are watching right now and you're not in FnF and you're interested in the draft league, this could be you, okay? This could be your time to shine. Come in and see what we're all about. So this is the Kiss of Death team. Lilith did mention shout out to StarToad for making this logo, which is very, I like it a lot. You have the ominous graveyard, and then you have Skeletor and Smoochum in the front. So we're going to move into looking at the team. However, right off the bat, I see Gothorita. That is a terrifying Pokemon to deal with in an NFE league. It is weak to knockoff, and it does not want to lose its Eviolite, but with its ability Shadow Tag, which is legal, it can trap and kill so many threats with its nice bulk. And it is a very cruel Pokemon because Gothitelle can trap and attack things, but Gothorita prefers to trap and just weaken things until they are like dying their dying breath. And then Gothorita kills them very slowly. So this will be a very interesting matchup if you have to face Kiss of Death for sure. You're going to have an answer to Gothorita. But Gothorita isn't the only Pokemon on this team. It does look like there's a small Sun Core of Vulpix with Gloom. Gloom is really good in Draft League as well, with that nice bulk from Eviolite and the ability to hit really hard with its respectable special attack set and also access to growth. It could have Sleep Powder and also be used outside of the sun, but it functions really nicely under the sun with Chlorophyll. Vulpix was a good pick. It is also the only Drought Pokemon in an NFE league, since Torkoal is not legal and neither is Ninetales. So taking Vulpix, Sun being very popular in NFE, taking Vulpix early prevented other people from taking Vulpix. We also have Spritzee and Frillish, both rather bulky Pokemon. Frillish on the specially defensive side. Spritzee could go either way, but its best function is in Wish Passing. It can pass rather hefty wishes and has good defenses and decent fairy typing. Frillish is there for that special defense. Trubbish is a good Pokemon because it has access to Toxic Spikes. It also has Sticky Hold actually, so that's really good in not removing its Eviolite. Purloin can also be used decently to stop a sweep with its ability Prankster. And then finally we have a few more Pokemon. Dragonair, really bulky, can use Shed Skin to its advantage. Machop and Bonsly, some kind of frail physical hitters. Bonsly can set up rocks. So this looks like it's a team that is going to be centered around Gothorita and maybe a Sun Core with Gloom. Lots of support Pokemon on the side. Overall, it looks like a really interesting team and definitely a feared one due to the presence of Gothorita. So if you're facing this team, definitely make sure that you are prepared for Gothorita, because that is going to be a big star player in this team. So we are going to move on to the next team now. New team. We're out of the Battle Pike. We're moving into Mount Pier. But before we start, Pyre rather, not Pier. But before we start, I do have to say sub, which was requested by Kiwi that I say it. I hope I said it in a good way. So this is Kiwi, another newcomer to the league, with the flashy Furrets. And don't look at the bottom right of the team icon. I might get demonetized. Psych, that implies I was getting monetized in the first place. Alright, but let's take a look at this team right off the bat. Chatot really stands out as a strong Pokemon. It has reasonable speed, it has good special attack, and it has access to Boom Burst. With a Choice Specs attack attached, Chatot can rip through teams. Even with Eviolite boosted Draft League, keep in mind that Chatot Boom Burst hits as hard as Exploud Boom Burst, and we all know how hard Exploud Boom Burst can hit. Well, maybe we don't all know, but if you're watching Victory Road Season 2, you know, because Ember has showed us. So Chatot is going to be an amazing option for sweeping and for wall breaking. Chatot's speed will help it in that department, especially in a slower speed league such as this one. Chatot's not the only Pokemon on this team, though. Shelgon has reasonable bulk with Eviolite attached, and it hits pretty hard. I do believe it has access to Dragon Dance, so it can go for a tanky sweep, and I believe it also has Rock Head, so it could go for some double edges if it's not hitting hard with, for example, Outrage. Zorua is a really tricky Pokemon in that it can disguise as a different Pokemon. It can hit kind of hard. I do think it needs a nasty plot boost before it hits, but if you're thinking that you're facing Shelgon and you switch out and then Zorua gets a nasty plot, that's going to be really bad news for you. Dartrix is a very decent defogger with nice stats and access to Roost. Tortuga is surprisingly good. It does have access to Knockoff, and I'm pretty sure it has access to Knockoff. It can also Shell Smash, which is really good in this league. It has good bulk, and overall it's a versatile Pokemon. It has Aqua Jet too to pick things off. I think it can Stealth Rock. It has so much utility, so it's going to be really useful. Definitely, especially for a tier 4 pick. Poipole can be a really nice choice with its ability to Beast Boost. I think its move pool is pretty low. I actually don't know that much about Poipole, but if it gets going with a Beast Boost and its reasonable bulk, it could be really hard to take down. Finally, we have a few other bulky Mons, Electabuzz, Marshtomp, and Pignite, all really bulky with the Eviolite attached. Electabuzz hits really hard, Marshtomp has nice typing, and Pignite can do both. It could hit hard and it could defend. Sentret is an interesting pick. It's not very good, but it still does have its uses. I do believe it has access to Switcheroo and Frisk, so it can scout and mess up an opponent, seeing what those items are, and it could quick attack as well. So this looks like it's going to be a really hard-hitting team that can also defend. And yeah, it's a really nice team. I especially like the defensive core with Marshtomp and Pignite. That's going to be a really good defensive core that can also hit back really well. Dartrix is also really good in that core too. So lots of good Pokemon here, and I'm excited to see how Kiwi does in this draft league. Now we're going to move on to our next team. We're moving into the Dragon's Den, which is actually a great choice of theme. So we're moving into the Dragon's Den for the Draco Warriors, and this is the team led by Fire Warrior 82. Yet another newcomer to the league. Lots of newcomers this time. Let's take a look at this team. First of all, I love the logo. It's pretty much like a Draco Meteor with the -2 special attack underneath. Really funny. So speaking of Draco Meteor, we actually have something that uses the grass equivalent of Draco Meteor, which is Servine. But instead of Draco Meteor, it is Leaf Storm, and with Contrary, that allows it to boost and sweep. With its respectable bulk from Eviolite and its options such as Leech Seed and Glare, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Servine can absolutely tear apart teams if they're not prepared. So that's going to be a very valuable Pokemon in this matchup. Having something that can scare out Servine or somehow undo those boosts will really help. Munchlax is also an extremely valuable Pokemon in this format. It has super amazing special bulk, and it could curse. It's kind of like the Munchlax of NFE. The Snorlax of NFE. A curse set is very effective because of how bulky it is with Eviolite attached. Not only that, but it could hit hard, especially after a curse or two. Charmeleon, which happens to be Fire Warrior 82's favorite Pokemon, I believe, is also pretty good. It can go for a Belly Drum if it wants to. It could sweep in Sun. There's no Sun Setter, but maybe a manual one. Scraggy is really nice. It has a lot of utility. It can go for Intimidate. It could also go for a Moxie set, and it could absorb knockoffs really well, especially with Intimidate, reducing the power of that knockoff. And it could pick up some momentum by removing that knockoff threat. The other Pokemon, let's see, we have Nidorina, which hits reasonably hard with Hustle. Voltorb, which is pretty fast and has a lot of utility with those dual screens. Wartortle, very bulky and a nice spinner. And Mudbray, also very bulky with stamina and Eviolite attached. It's really hard to take down. Give it rest, and it might be like an unbreakable wall if there's not things to check it after it rests. Zweilious hits really hard with Hustle. So Nidorina and Zweilious both on this team, interesting 2 Hustle Pokemon. And Noibat, which I do believe it gets Boom Burst as well. So it could be a nice cleaner. I think it's pretty fast. So this team looks like there's some Pokemon that are really good for support. Voltorb, for example, could set up dual screens. Nidorina, I think it gets Home Claws. If it if it sets up Home Claws with Hustle, it could go for a sweep. Zweilious can do the same thing, go for a sweep. Voltorb will be nice for that utility with the screens. Scraggy will also be nice in intimidating. And Servine will actually be nice in spreading glare when it's not sweeping. So it looks like this team has a lot of support Pokemon to support those really hard-hitting central Pokemon, which I'd say would be the sweepers, Zweilious, Nidorina, Servine, and to an extent Charmeleon and Munchlax. So this is going to be a good team to see like how it hangs in the balance of that utility and that support versus when this team is ready to go for a sweep. It's going to be really interesting to see how Fire Warrior 82 balances that, and I think it's a really promising team. So we're going to move on next into the Ultra Desert. The Ultra Desert, I believe, I haven't played Sun and Moon, but based on the thumbnail to this video, I'm going to say I believe you find Pheromosa in the Ultra Desert, which is a nice little segue into who we are going to talk about next. It is Prism Armory by Pheromosa is Bay, aka Phero, another newcomer to the league. Not a newcomer to the server, but a newcomer to the league. So nice to have you, Phero. Let's take a moment before we even jump into the team to appreciate this really awesome team logo that was hand painted by Phero himself. I like the Pheromosa art, and I also like the fact that Prism Armory is done in the unknown font. I think that's really cool. So shout out to that logo. It's really awesome. So we're gonna look at Prism Armory now. And oh yeah, before that, Phero did want to mention that he has seen all in caps, all Godzilla movies. So just a fun fact about Phero. So we're going to jump in. We have seen some really potent offensive mons so far. This team looks like it takes defensive to the next level. Shuckle is one of those main Pokemon that it's already really defensive outside of NFE, but in NFE, where things generally aren't as strong as, let's say, Gen 7 OU, Shuckle is going to be a very strong wall, and it has a lot of utility. It could set up Sticky Web, it could set up Stealth Rock, it could Power Split. It could go for so many different things, and Shuckle is going to be an amazing Pokemon on this team. Marini is also a really nice Pokemon, being extremely defensive, having access to knockoff, being able to toxic the other opponents, and regenerate. So Shuckle and Marini are going to make a really nice core, especially since Marini can take steel moves, water moves that threaten Shuckle, and Shuckle, to an extent, can take some of the moves that threaten Marini, such as electric moves and ground moves. Grotle also is a nice addition to that core. I do believe it gets Leech Seed. If not, it is still a very defensive grass Pokemon with Z Crystal attached. It can set up a curse, and it could also just generally be pretty bulky. Lombre as well, surprisingly can be bulky with its access to Leech Seed. And I'm actually wondering if Phero is going to try to run Rain at any point, because there's Lombre, Chinchou, and Carvanha, and Marini, so a lot of Water-type Pokemon. Lombre could benefit from Rain Dish or Swift Swim, and Chinchou and Carvanha as attackers can both benefit from the Rain, definitely. Rain will also help hamper the fire attacks that might threaten Grotle and Metang. So this could actually be like a secret Rain team. Helioptile with Dry Skin too. This could actually be a secret Rain team, and I don't even know it. There are no Rain setters in NFE, but you could still manually set Rain. So who knows? Maybe we'll see Rain from this team. Chinchou, really, really nice pivot. Nice defensive abilities, taking in water and electric moves with its abilities. And then Carvanha is kind of like the sweeper on this team. I'd say Carvanha is the best physical sweeper with access to speed boost and its nice attack stats. Lampent is a really good special sweeper, or rather wall breaker. It's not that fast, but it can hit extremely hard. Metang is also another good physical attacker with decent utility as well, and the ability to hit hard. And then Deden and Helioptile can function in Rain, especially with Thunder. And Deden has Cheek Pouch, which is an interesting ability, and because of its bulk in NFE compared to Gen 7, it'll work a lot better, I think. So that, I think I just discovered that maybe this team will have like a secret Rain gimmick. I hope I see it, it'll be pretty cool. But otherwise, this is still a very solid defensive team with a lot of defensive options, and it'll be really hard to break through this team. I think definitely this team will have the edge when it comes to defending. So we're going to look at the next team to come up. We're going to be moving into Pokemon Black and White 2 versus Colress. And this team is the Cleveland Escavaliers, which is headed by Crit LOL, aka Crit. And this is another newcomer to the league, kind of a newcomer to the server too. I think he's been in the server for 1 or 2 weeks, and he's done leagues before, so I'm interested to see how he does in this one, especially given the format. He knows quite a thing or two about Pokemon draft leagues already, compared to other people who might be new to draft leagues. So it'll be interesting to see how everybody does, but especially given his knowledge and experience. So right off the bat, we have Sableye, which is a very potent defensive Pokemon and can be decently offensive as well. Its attack stat is actually quite nice, but where it shines is in its access to Prankster, its nice defensive typing, and its utility. With Prankster, it could stop sweepers. With Will-O-Wisp, it could recover. It could just do a lot of things. And it could also knock off, which is very desired in this format, as well as Nightshade. So Sableye is a really decent choice. Complementing Sableye, we have Smeargle. I was looking for Smeargle on his right under. Smeargle can also do things to mess with the opponent, using utility moves such as Spore. It could set up sticky webs. It could do pretty much anything, especially with its Z-Any privilege. So they will make a really good disruption pair, where they could disrupt a lot of the opponent's strategies. And they'll be really hard to take down. Well, Sableye will, because its defenses are actually quite nice. Corphish is a Pokemon that is really good after it sets up a Swords Dance, and it goes for adaptability, Aqua Jets. It can also knock off, which is very good utility. And it's decently bulky. Quilladin is really bulky. It's a nice grass type to have, and I do believe it could set up spikes. Maybe it can't, but I think it can. I'm pretty sure it can. So we see a lot of utility coming from this team. LGM is a little bit more of like a special wall breaker, and it could be tanky with an Eviolite. Its defensive typing isn't really that good, but it does have access to recover, and it can set up Trick Room too. So Trick Room is actually a good option for this team, considering Skrelp, Machoke, Corphish are all pretty slow, even Sableye, so they can all function in Trick Room. Togepi is nice as a wish passer, but it doesn't pass really big wishes. It can be defensive though still, and hard to take down. And Machoke is a premier Pokemon in NFE. It's like one of the best, I'd say. Access to knockoff, great abilities, can absorb Toxics and Will-O-Wisps with Guts, can confuse with Dynamic Punch, great bulk. It has pretty much everything except recovery, but with Togepi that'll help patch that up a little bit. Skrelp is also really good with adaptability and Z attack privilege. It can hit really hard on the physical and special sides. It's also decently bulky, not super bulky, but still pretty decently bulky, and nothing really wants to take an adaptability hit. And then Yanma is good for outspeeding things. This looks like a generally slow team, but there are still things that outspeed, such as Corphish, Sableye, Smeargle with some disruption and priority, and then Yanma also with speed boost. And then finally, Solosis can act as a good pivot and has a really decent special attack stat, so something to watch out for as well. This looks like a really interesting team. It kind of like deals with threats really well. It could stop sweeps, and it could disrupt the opponent and then kind of go in when things are clear. So I'm liking how this team is looking, definitely. And we're going to move on to the next team. We're moving into Team Galactic Boss Battle. And we are moving on to Ashburn Snorlax, which is Centrios team, aka Luke. And Centrios is the last newcomer in this Oreburgh Gate Draft League that will be in this video. The rest of the people from here on are not going to be newcomers. He does run a league of his own. It's a Gen 6 league, actually, and it's in, I think it's in its like 8th season. It's been going for quite a while. So he does have knowledge of Pokemon as well, so I'm interested to see how he does in this format, given his knowledge. And he does want to mention that he is the rain god. We might see some rain. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. It doesn't look like his team is too rainy, but Sliggoo does benefit a lot from the rain, and Elekid can as well with thunder. So maybe there will be rain. Oh, and Prinplup too. So let's take a look and see. Kadabra is a really great Pokemon. Magic Heart especially helps it. Hits really, really hard, and can even go bulky with the Calm Mindset. Generally just a very effective Pokemon in NFE. Sliggoo is a very, very nice special wall. With Eviolite attached, it could tank so many special hits, and in rain, it could Hydration Rest, which is really nice recovery. Diglett is good at trapping things that, well, don't want to be trapped, especially Steel types. Porygon can go for Z conversion and is generally pretty bulky. Snivy is good at sweeping with Leaf Storm. So overall, we're seeing already some really strong offensive options and defensive options, with Sliggoo being defensive, Kadabra and Porygon being offensive. Porygon kind of being both, actually. Diglett being offensive and Snivy. Snowball's actually a sleeper pick, I'm going to say. It has decent utility. I do believe it gets Heal Bell. Intimidate is nice, and it's also reasonably bulky, especially after the Intimidate. And it hits decently hard too with Play Rough, so don't sleep on Snubbull. Elekid is also pretty nice. It has nice attacking stats and speed, but it is pretty frail. Monferno, Prinplup, and Loudred are all decently bulky, especially Prinplup. Loudred hits really hard though, as well as Monferno. Monferno could do both physical and special. Loudred is usually more special because of Boom Burst, and then Prinplup is a great support Pokemon, but can also hit pretty hard specially. So this looks like a little bit more of an offensive team that has some utility in defending, I'm guessing that Sliggoo and Prinplup will be a good defensive core, Sliggoo being specially defensive and Prinplup being physically defensive. And then the rest of his team looks more like it's going to be offensive. But it looks really interesting, and I think this is a nice showcase of a really good draft. I think he got a lot of smart picks in tiers, and even Pokemon that, even though low tier, they have decent utility and work really well. So I think he was smart in his draft. So we're going to move on to the next trainer. And this is Zequig's team, which is Smiley, that's how I'm going to pronounce it, with awesome art done by himself of Corsola with a choice band on and that nice like horn sticking through the choice band. I just love it so much. So this is going to be a review of Smiley. Of course, we do have Corsola, this time Tier 1. Tier 5 in the last league, Victory Road Season 2. Tier 1 in this league, due to the fact that it is extremely bulky, has Regenerator, has a lot of utility, can hit really hard with Head Smash. It just could do so many different things. It could set up Stealth Rock. It could do a lot. Corsola is definitely going to be a Pokemon that we'll see used. He definitely loves Corsola and uses it in interesting and unique ways, so get ready for that. Next we have Trumbeak, which could act as a really nice sweeper, especially with Skill Link, Rock Blast, for example, and Bullet Seed, but also with Boom Burst of its own. Its Boom Burst doesn't hit as hard as Chatot, for example, but it could still hit pretty hard. And it is reasonably bulky. Charjabug and Larvesta are two really interesting and cool bug Pokemon. Larvesta could hit really hard with Flare Blitz, and then Charjabug is really bulky, has really nice typing. Bug Electric is pretty good typing, and it can hit reasonably hard while also defending really nicely. Sandygast and Grimer, the two kind of amorphous blob-like Pokemon. Sandygast, really nice with Shore Up, and I believe it can set up Stealth Rock, but I'm not sure. And then Grimer is really good with Sticky Hold, ensuring that Eviolite doesn't go away. Knockoffs will be stronger, but with Acid Armor or Curse, it could actually offset that and kind of set up. Tangela is amazing, especially with Corsola. They have nice synergy together. Tangela could come in on pretty much any physical hit and be fine, and then pivot out and restore that HP with Regenerator. Tangela is going to be an amazing Pokemon for Zequig to experiment with. It's defensive, but it has offensive options, it has utility options, it could Sleep Powder, it could Sweep in the Rain with Growth. It is an amazing Pokemon, and I'm really looking forward to see how he uses it. Vigoroth, I don't necessarily know that much about it, to be honest, but I do know it's a strong physical attacker. I do believe it has access to knockoff, and I think it could boost. So, with Z attack especially, it could hit really hard, maybe with Double Edge. Vigoroth is definitely going to be an interesting option to see. Croagunk and Meowth. Croagunk is kind of hard to tell what it's going to do. It can knock off, and it can poison things, and it has decent typing and offensive stats. And Meowth is really good at utility. It can pivot out with Parting Shot, I believe, so that's going to be really nice for setting up one of the bulkier Pokemon, or setting up with Vigoroth, for example, with Tangela. So overall, this looks like a really nice team centered around Tangela, Corsola, defensive core, and then the rest of the Pokemon, well, Charjabug also. The rest of the Pokemon are kind of more offensive, looking for their chance to shine. But Corsola and Tangela cover each other really well. They both have Regenerator, so they're going to be extremely sturdy, especially if they pack Recover and Synthesis. Like, they're going to be really hard to stop. So this team will be really good at utility and defense, and then finding a way for one of the stronger Pokemon like Vigoroth offensively to break through. We're going to move on to the next trainer now. Oh, before we do, Zequig says that he's a firm believer that Peach is bottom 3, and he's still newish to Pokemon, so please no bully. That's what he said. So we're going to move on to the next trainer. Before we do, we're going to move to Little Root Town. The Song of New Beginnings. This is Gulf Coast Early Birds by Sir Roland. A new beginning indeed. I'm sure he's happy to use Natu in this. Really nice logo. I like a lot. He does want to say that Luxray is perfect. And good morning, Natu. So let's jump right in. Spoiler alert, he has Luxio and Natu. So right off the bat, we have Roselia and Duosion, which are a really great duo. Roselia with the ability to switch out after resting and extremely great special bulk. Due to natural cure, it could rest and then switch out and be fine. It also has access to aromatherapy to support the team. Duosion has Regenerator, so it can switch out a lot, but it also has Magic Guard, so that's going to be already a really strong defensive core. Honedge is an interesting Pokemon because it attacks really hard and it could defend with Eviolite. It could also set up and Swords and Shadow Sneak, so that'll be a very valuable Pokemon. It'll just have to operate around knockoff. Luxio, we're definitely going to be seeing a sweeping Luxio or a wall-breaking Luxio. With Flame Orb attached, it could do really big damage with Wild Charge and Facade. It'll be really hard to come in on it. With Intimidate and Eviolite, it could be extremely bulky. Arcan is really interesting because it hits like a truck, but only for certain moments of the match. It will be really useful. I think it can set up Stealth Rock too, and I think it gets access to Roost, I'm not sure. But before you get it down to half HP, it is a force to be reckoned with, and it's really scary. Of course, we will see Kirlia. Excuse me. We will see Kirlia, which is a pre-evolved form of Gardevoir, and Gallade, which Sir Roland is known to use. Kirlia's stats are not that good, to put it bluntly, but it does have a lot of utility. It has access to Destiny Bond and Dual Screens. Calm Mind, I do believe it can Wish as well. So it has a lot of things that it can do, and it still can hit decently okay. Natu with Magic Bounce is a really good anti-stall option. It is reasonably bulky with Eviolites, and it does get access to Dual Screens as well as Roost. So this could be a very good defensive option as well. It could form a core with Roselia, but Ice types will give some trouble. But then again, Honedge could come in on some Ice moves or Shelter. Speaking of Shelter, Shelter is a great Shell Smasher. With the ability Skill Link and some investment, it can plow through teams that aren't ready, eating at sashes, and the ability Sturdy, and generally having very good move pool. Torracat is an interesting Pokemon. I actually don't know that much about it. I do know it gets Intimidate, so it'll be a nice defensive option, as well as hitting reasonably hard. And then, of course, how could we forget Magikarp with the Crystal Privilege? Z-Splash will be game over. That's it, guys. Don't even try. So this is going to be an interesting one. I think that this team is kind of like, there's sweepers with Shelter and Honedge after boosting. There's wall breakers with Luxio and Arcan. There's defensive options with Roselia, for example, and Duosion, and Torracat with a tank. So it kind of has like a little bit of everything. I wouldn't say it excels in one area, except Magikarpness. It excels there. It's not a specialist. It's kind of like an all-round team, and it has a little bit of everything, which is good to have in Draft League because you want to be able to change up your playstyle at a moment's notice. So I'm curious to see how he uses this team. And we are going to move on to our next trainer now. We're facing legendary Pokemon in Black and White. And sorry, just setting up. Okay, we are moving on to Benji's team. This is the Star Conquerors. If you've played in Victory Road, you know this team very well. the same logo all 3 times. I think that's the only person maybe who has used the same logo for 3 times in a row. Big Kirby fan here. So this is Benji's team. He is entering this league because he wants to learn more about Pokemon and practice more and also have some fun, of course. He did say that he tries not to get salty, which I think is a good mindset to have, because if you're learning, you want to treat every L as a learning opportunity and not something to get angry at. So I think that's a good philosophy. So let's take a look at this team. Excuse me. So overall, I noticed that there's a lot of Pokemon that aren't linked to evolution. There's 3, Solrock, Cryogonal, and Maractus. They're reasonably bulky, and they can hit pretty hard, too. Maractus is a really interesting one because it could go physical or special, and it could go for growth. Whirlipede is pretty bulky. Actually, all of these Pokemon are pretty bulky. I'd say minus like Quilava and Blitzel and Jangmo. They're pretty bulky. So Solrock is really good at hitting hard and also setting up rocks and supporting the team. Seadra, its physical defense is off the charts with Eviolite, and it hits pretty hard, especially. Whirlipede is also bulky and can boost with Speed Boost. I think it can set up Toxic Sprites, I'm pretty sure. And generally, it's a good Pokemon for momentum. Maractus we already talked about. It's really interesting. I do like Maractus a lot. Quilava, it can hit hard and fast, but it's not very defensive. Rhyhorn is defensive, but its typing kind of lends it to not being able to defend as well as special defense. But Cryogonal kind of picks up on that and has amazing special defense and can hit pretty hard and fast as well. Lairon is also really good defensively, so Cryogonal and Lairon actually form a really nice defensive core if there's something to deal with fighting-type Pokemon, which Whirlipede can deal with fighting-type Pokemon, as well as Seadra with its nice defense set. So there's a lot of options for Benji to use in terms of defense. He does have to be a little bit careful because outside of Cryogonal, I don't believe that there's anything that recovers easily. Maybe Maractus with Synthesis, but outside of that, I don't think anything really gets recover. So he will have to be careful about using up his Pokemon, his defensive options. But overall, it looks like they're pretty good. Cryogonal could also Rapid Spin, although it doesn't usually want to come in on rocks. It could still recover after. And then Lairon could set up rocks. Jangmo is interesting. I'm not really sure what it can do compared to like Komo, for example, or Hakamo, but I'm guessing it still has some decent attacking potential. And Blitzel is an interesting choice. It's kind of like fast and... yeah, it's fast, but it's really frail. So it looks like this team is kind of like composed of tanks and like they're reasonably bulky and can hit pretty hard. The biggest thing is that they don't really have recovery and there's no Wish Passer, but if Benji could get some momentum with his tanks and maybe use Maractus and Cryogonal as things that could come in and recover, I think he could do really well with this, and it looks like a really interesting team. There's a lot of strong Pokemon on this team. Okay, so Benji's pretty new to Pokemon also, but he's doing really well in Victory Road, so doing a good job. So we're going to move on to the next trainer. Stepping into Ultra Necrozma's battle theme. You guessed it, we're going to be going into Northern Necrozmas. So, this is Northern Necrozmas, led by Morgana, again with that super awesome logo that I really like, mixing Pink Floyd with Canada with Necrozma and the Prism theme, really liked it. So, Morgana says, most of you already know me, but feel free to chat with me because I'm on Discord a lot. And he is a pretty cool guy. Definitely talk to him about his music tastes, about Canadian parody bands. So, yeah, he is going to be joining us with Northern Necrozmas, and I love this team theme because he is using his Victory Road Season 2 theme, but pre-evolutions of all of them, none of them got sniped, so everything that can pre-evolve, he's using this time around. So let's take a look at this. We're starting off with Gabite, a really strong Pokemon that can go for a wall break or even a sweep if it's supported. It could also set up Stealth Rock. Clang is actually really good in NFE because it has really nice bulk with an Eviolite and good typing. It could also go for a Shift Gear and then go for some sweeping as well. Brionne also bulky. Brionne and Pupitar also bulky, and Mantike, I would say, and Jigglypuff to an extent even. So he has a lot of bulky options. Brionne hits pretty hard on the special side. Pupitar can hit decently hard on the physical side. Houndour has nice utility and can go for a specially sweeping set. It has access to Destiny Bond too, which is really interesting, and Will-O-Wisp. So it can be an unexpected utility mon when you're expecting like a special sweeper. Tyrogue is Tyrogue. But it does have access to some priority moves and can use Bulk Up or Rapid Spin for utility. Haunter is one of those Pokemon to definitely look at. I'd say like Gabite and Haunter are the two Pokemon that have the most attacking prowess right off the bat, where Gabite can hit on the physical side, Haunter hits on the special side. And it has such a wide move pool that it's really dependable in a wide variety of situations. Mantike is interesting. It doesn't get Roost unlike Mantine, unfortunately, but it's still a very good special wall with Eviolite. Its special defense is just like off the charts with Eviolite. A Jigglypuff can form an Ice Core with Mantike being able to Wish Pass and try to defend physically so that Mantike could restore some HP, and it passes actually the biggest wishes in this entire NFE league due to its very high, I believe 105 HP stat. And then finally, Timber is a really good choice. It can Drain Punch, it's reasonably bulky, it has really good abilities, so overall it's a pretty good Pokemon. I think that this team is a lot more bulky offense compared to his team in Victory Road, which is a little bit more offensive than it is bulky. So it's going to be interesting to see how he adjusts his playstyle to this team, and to see which Pokemon are more useful in this league than last one. Definitely I'm looking at Clang and Jigglypuff as two that stand out to me as things that are really useful, where maybe in Victory Road they're not as useful. So really happy to have Morgana join us again. And we're going to move on to the next team. We are entering the whimsical and fun theme of the Trick House. And many of you may already know that that means we're going into LionHugs team to Wooper to Blooper, which is the pre-sequel to Wooper Blooper from Victory Road Season 1. So we're going to move into this. Before we do, LionHugs' message is Trans Rights, which was also actually the name of their Sylveon in Victory Road Season 1. Now it's Flesh. But that was their Sylveon in Victory Road Season 1, which we don't see Sylveon in this, obviously, because it's NFE or Eevee, but still an interesting team. Let's take a look. We have Clefairy, which has Magic Guard and really nice bulk with Eviolite. It can go for a special attacking set with Calm Mind, or it could pass Wishes. Seviper is going to be really interesting because it's a great mixed attacker with reasonable bulk, and it could hit hard on both sides. It has a wide move pool that a lot of people don't expect. Earthquake, Giga Drain, Flamethrower, Aqua Tail, like its move pool is pretty awesome. So it's going to be interesting to see that, especially with the Z Crystal privilege. Meryl with Z Crystal privilege could mean that we'll see Belly Drum. So that'll be interesting, especially with Aqua Jet. It has lower attack than Azumarill, but it still hits pretty hard with Eviolite attached. It's pretty bulky. So Meryl's going to be an interesting Pokemon to see. Ponyta is kind of like one of those basic Pokemon that has stats that are better than other basic Pokemon. So it's going to be really useful, especially if it has Eviolite attached, but it can also be useful with Choice Band and Choice Scarf, even Choice Specs to an extent. Nice move pool. I just really like Ponyta on this. It's really good. Joltik is going to be interesting because it could set up Sticky Web, which will assist with Ponyta going for a sweep, and Seviper as well, since it's not that fast. Teddy Ursa actually can go for a sweep fast or wall breaking, depending on whether it has Guts or Quick Feet, but its attack stat is actually quite nice. So don't status the Teddy Ursa because it'll hit you hard. Pawniard is really nice. It has access to knockoff. It could absorb knockoffs. It could absorb lowering of stats such as Intimidate and Sticky Webs. And it also hits like a truck. It could hit really hard. It could knock off. It could Sucker Punch. It could Pursue. It's just kind of like the offensive utility Dark Pokemon that you don't want to be stuck against if you're a fragile Psychic or Ghost. Of course, this team wouldn't be complete without Wooper, which has Unaware and could come in on a sweeper of the physical variety and kind of just wall it out unless the sweeper is like a grass sweeper or an electric physical sweeper. So Wooper will actually have some good utility in this. Vibrava, Dragon Dance sweeper. It could be decent after a Dragon Dance or two. It kind of has awkward stats, but they're workable, especially if you give it an Eviolite. And then Riolu actually has Prankster, which it's decent attacking stats. It allows it to use Copycat first and also Boost. It gets priority too, so it's kind of like a sleeper. Its stats aren't amazing, but it's kind of like a sleeper good pick. So yeah, this team, LionHugs did say that they picked a lot of Pokemon that they liked and found cute. It's kind of hard to put my finger on what kind of archetype this team has. It kind of has a little bit of everything, I'd say. Sticky Web will help with the sweepers. Prankster could help in maybe stopping a sweep. Wooper could stop a sweep. So there's some utility, there's some sweeping, there's some bulk. So yeah, there's a little bit of everything in this team. Alright, we're going to move on to the next team. So this is Eans's theme from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And up next we have only the sickest of Link mains, Eans, which some of you might know as Kudo. You can know him as Eans if Kudo wasn't pre-established, otherwise Kudo is fine. And this is a Signal Mountain Suicunes, inspired by Signal Mountain, which is where he lives. So let's take a look at this team. Phero Seed already. I'm getting some of those Season 1 Victory Road vibes with Phero Seed there. Phero Seed is a great defensive Pokemon because it has access to Leech Seed. It has really good defensive stats. And with Eviolite, it is extremely bulky. So I could definitely see Phero Seed forming a good core with Duskull. Duskull is an extremely defensive Pokemon as well, and it really appreciates Leech Seed because it doesn't really have reliable recovery. So Phero Seed and Duskull are going to be amazing defensive Pokemon together. Completing that, Quillfish is actually really good defensively. It has decent defense and access to Intimidate, so it could come in on a lot of physical moves and even some special moves. It could come in on some of the Fire-type moves that threaten Phero Seed. Emolga is an amazing pivot because it has really nice attacking stats and good speed and could just generally have good utility with Thunder Wave and pivoting. And Electric, both of the electric types on this team actually are immune to ground, which is interesting. Electric is immune to ground and has a great move pool, so if you don't like electric types, this is going to be a hard team for you to deal with. Eevee with the Z attack privilege means that it can use Extreme Evo Boost, which is going to be extremely good in setting up for a sweep. Abra is also really good. It's not as good as Kadabra, but it still has Magic Guard, which can preserve sashes, and it could go for a sweep because its special attack is still really high, even though it's a Stage 1 Pokemon. Quillfish generally good. Paired with Delibird, they make really good stacking of hazards, specifically spikes and toxic spikes. And in this format, Delibird could actually hit pretty hard with Hustle and moves like Aerial Ace, and I believe it gets Ice Shard. Mienfoo is also a Pokemon that is pre-evolved from Victory Road Season 1 with Regenerator and its ability to pivot. It's going to pivot really nicely. And finally, Baltoy can be good in removing hazards with Rapid Spin. So this team has a lot of utility to it. I don't really see a lot of like dedicated sweepers. Abra can be one, and Eevee. And maybe to an extent Quillfish and Mienfoo too. But it looks like it's more of a defensive utility pivoty team that sets up hazards and forces switches and kind of stalls a little bit. It's like kind of semi-stall, I'd say. So really interesting. I'm glad that we're able to see the return of Kudo/Eons in this league. He unfortunately had to leave Victory Road Season 1 due to some circumstances, but he's joining, and he was doing really well in Victory Road Season 1. He was one of the top players. I think he had a 4-1 score or a 3-1 score. It was a really good score. So, yeah, excited to see what he brings to the table and how he does. And we're going to move on to the next team. Moving to Mystery Dungeon. This is Monster House theme. And this is noobscrub's team. It's pronounced the level gamers because the schwa, which is the upside down E, is like kind of the unstressed sound, which is but I'm gonna pronounce it E because I think E level gamers just sounds great. So this is noobscrub's team, the E level gamers, and as you can see, they support their local esport team and other members on Twitch. So we have the E-level gamers, the only Oricorio which was drafted, which is interesting considering Oricorio has a lot of uses. It has okay bulk, it has the ability to recover with Roost, great defensive typing, defog, nice offensive typing as well. So just in general, Oricorio is really good. I'm excited to see that used for sure. Ivysaur, the one and only, a very strong tier 2 Pokemon with Z-Any. It has the ability to hit hard. It can go for Leech Seed stalling. It's very bulky with Eviolite attached. It could Synthesis. It could Growth in the Sun. It just can do so many different things. Really excited to see how Ivysaur is using this. Braixen can pass wishes and also just generally hit pretty hard on the special side. Good synergy with Ivysaur, especially if it sets up a sunny day. And then Staravia hits pretty hard too, with, I believe it gets Intimidate and Reckless, so it could hit really hard, especially with the Choice Scarf attached. Shellos is nice because it has Sticky Hold to absorb knockoffs, and it also can recover. Bronzer is really good with Eviolite attached, and can use utilities such as Screens and Trick Room. And then Drillbur and Togedemaru. Drillbur is good at rapid spinning and hitting hard. Togedemaru hits really hard, great defensive typing, and can utility with Nuzzle and could go for paraflinches. Combuskin is really nice at boosting with Speed Boost and then going for a sweep, especially with Bulk Up. And then Igglybuff is good at passing wishes. So there's two wish passers. It looks like noobscrub is departing a little bit from stall. There are some stall mons, but for the most part, this looks like a bulky offensive team with the ability for a few mons to go above and beyond. Particularly Combuskin, Staravia, Ivysaur, or Oricorio, they can go sweep, especially with wish support. Combuskin looks really nice in sweeping with its speed boost. So I'm really interested to see how this team goes and how his playstyle changes. I've seen his playstyle change over time where he goes stally sometimes and he goes bulky offense sometimes, and I think he's really good in that happy medium, as we're seeing now in Victory Road Season 2, where his team isn't pure stall, but it has stall elements with bulky offense elements. So I think he's going to do really good with this team. Okay, we move on. And we are now at the Croatian Bidoofs. So this team is headed by DrizzleBoy, who is kind of new to the server. He is participating in Victory Road Season 2, so we do have an idea of how he can do. And he's done really well in Victory Road Season 2. His message is Bidoof! As you can tell, he is a Bidoof enthusiast this season. It's going to be really fun. So let's take a look at DrizzleBoy's team, which is Croatian Bidoofs. Of course, we have Z any Bidoof, so I'm excited to see how he uses Bidoof, what Z moves he uses, if he uses any. Bidoof does have access to Simple, so after a Swords Dance, it can hit pretty hard with Quick Attack or even Return. Not the best bulk, but it still can be used. But he does have other options, especially defensive ones. Pyukumuku, Onyx, and Tropius, and Coughing as well, are all really good defensive Pokemon that could fulfill a variety of roles. Especially Pyukumuku in stopping sweeps. In an NFE league, its bulk is already good, but in an NFE league, its bulk is outstanding and it could recover. So it's going to be really hard to break through Pyukumuku. Onyx is good on the physical side. Tropius could be a really good especially defensive or physically defensive Pokemon, and then Coughing is good on the physical side. So he has a lot of good options defensively to complement his physical attackers. I mean, his sweepers and his wall breakers. Speaking of sweepers, we have Sneasel and Pikachu. Both hit really hard. Sneasel on the physical side, Pikachu on the special side. Sneasel is really good in this league, especially because it hits really hard and it could Pursuit, it could Knock Off, it could Ice Shard. It has just a ton of different tools that it could use to mess up the opponent, whether it's picking them off with a priority move or pursuing them and or removing their item. Pikachu with a Light Ball hits extremely hard. Its attacking stats are doubled. It usually goes for special sets, but it could even go physical too, so you have to watch out for both, and it has really nice speed. Swirlix as well can go for a Belly Drum sweep. It hits extremely hard after a Belly Drum. So notice how like these attacking Pokemon, the sweepers for the most part, are pretty frail, but he has defensive options to switch in when he needs them. Of course, Bidoof with its Simple ability can hit really hard after a boost. Meditite with Pure Power can hit very hard, and Magmar generally hits hard, pretty reasonably defensive with Eviolite. So I'd say that this is a team that kind of has like offensive options and defensive options that switch between each other really nicely. There's a lot of fluidity to it, and what I'm going to say is I'm most curious to see how he makes Bidoof work. I really want to see Bidoof go for a sweep. That would be really awesome. So really glad to see DrizzleBoy joining this league as well. And we're going to move on to the next team. So this is the encounter with Hugh. And this is StarToad's team, the Michigan Magnemites. We know StarToad from Season 1 and Season 2 of Victory Road, as well as an active member on FnF. Awesome Samus. I just love the Michigan Magnemites and these mittens. The Michigan Magnemittens. It's funny because when I first saw this picture, I'm so disconnected from the cold that I was like, why is this Magnemite wearing oven mitts in the cold? Because I just don't encounter the cold a lot. So I've never really had to wear mittens a lot. But yeah, so we see the Michigan Magnemites. This is a really good team. This is one of the teams that I'm definitely looking at. Girder is just amazing. One of the best Pokemon in Draft League. It could knock off. It could recover with Drain Punch. It's extremely bulky. You can't status it because of Guts. It's just all around really, really great. Great pick for this team. And Grimer complements it really nicely, being able to come in on Psychic types, being able to use Knockoff and having great bulk, Pursuit, just a lot of offensive utility, and still being able to hit reasonably hard with Gunk Shot or Poison Jab. I'm not sure if it gets Gunk Shot, I think it does. Magnemite's going to be interesting too, with an Eviolite attached. It's pretty bulky, it has really nice stats. Staryu is nice due to its wide move pool. Good speed, good special attacking stat, its ability to recover, and yeah, all of those things combined make Staryu really good, and it's a spinner. Cottony is really good with Prankster. It could stop sweepers in their tracks or really mess with defensive Pokemon using Encore. It could Leech Seed. It's reasonably defensive. It could Cotton Guard, I believe. So that's going to be a good defensive Pokemon for sure. Palpitoad is decently defensive and can hit decently hard. Its move pool is kind of awkward, but it could definitely work. Volibeye is good at knocking things off, and it's extremely defensive. Foul Play means that it's not a sitting duck and it could actually hit pretty hard. Lickitung is great at being defensive and passing wishes. It also has a really wide move pool, so it can be used to an extent in an offensive manner as well, but with an Eviolite attached, it's so hard to break through Lickitung. Drifloon, if you knock off its item, I don't know if it'll survive the knockoff. Maybe if it has a sash or like the item that Colberberry, I think, that reduces dark type moves. But it does have Unburden if you remove its item. It also has Flare Boost, I believe. So it'll be an interesting move to Pokemon to see. I haven't seen Drifloon used much, but I definitely am looking forward to it. And then Growlithe will be really good with Intimidate, Flash Fire. Can generally do a variety of things. I think this team is really good. It does have a lot of Pokemon that don't want to take an Earthquake, but Cottony and Volibeye can come in and Drifloon to Earthquakes and then do what they got to do. So actually, that's not so much of a problem for this team. I think this team combines bulk with attack really well. It's resilient due to the fact that quite a few of the Pokemon on this team have access to recovery, and those that don't can be recovered by Lickitung's Wishes. It hits hard due to the fact that Girder hits extremely hard physically. Magnemite hits pretty hard specially. It's a really good balanced team. I think this is an amazing team. So kudos to this team. Really, really interesting, and I'm curious to see how it will be used. Finally, we're going to move on to the last team. We're moving into Mount Coronet, which is my Coronet. Literally, the team's name is My Coronet, and it's Noel's team, which is me. I love this concept and logo, My Coronet, being a joke when I misspelled Mount Coronet for My Coronet. And somehow it stuck around as an inside joke. And here we are. So this team is pretty bulky. Right off the bat, we have Togetic, one of the bulkiest Pokemon in NFE. It can Wish, and with an Eviolite attached, it's really hard to break through. It can also go for somewhat of an offensive role with its access to Nasty Plot. Mawile is also decently bulky as well, with its access to Intimidate and its great typing. It could also hit decently hard on the physical side. Nosepass, another bulky Pokemon. Let's just look at all the bulky Pokemon here. Nosepass, bulky with Eviolite, can defend really well. Celio, bulky with Eviolite, can defend really well. Phanpy, physically bulky with Eviolite. Drowsy, bulky with Eviolite, can pass wishes. So yeah, a lot of defensive Pokemon on this team. Not too many hard hitters, I'd say. This looks like a little bit more of a Solly team. Semi-Sol, there are some hard hitters. Togetic and Mawile to an extent can be hard-hitting. Hakamo and Salandit and even Bulbasaur to an extent can be hard-hitting. But for the most part, this is going to be a little bit more of a passive team that focuses on defense. Murkrow can also hit hard too. I forgot about Murkrow. Celio is going to be an interesting Pokemon. It forms a decent core with Nosepass and Togetic defensively. Phanpy can be used for a lot of different things. It could Rapid Spin, it could Knock Off, it could Ice Shard, and it could hit hard with Earthquake. Drowsy could pass wishes, and it has so much utility. It has a really wide move pool. It could set screens, it could Hypnosis, it could just generally do a lot of things. It could even Belly Drum if you're feeling brave. Murkrow is amazing with Prankster and its ability to stop sweepers. Prankster Haze, for example, could mean that setting up is useless versus Murkrow. Could also taunt against defensive Pokemon, so this is going to be a really valuable Pokemon on My Coronet. Hakamo seems to be the one of the harder hitting ones. It still is reasonably bulky, but it can go for a Dragon Dancing, I believe, or Belly Drum set, where it could hit pretty hard. Salandit, of course, can mess with defensive teams and Toxic anything, as well as hitting decently hard. And then Bulbasaur is really nice with Eviolite attached and Leech Seed, as well as Toxic, Sleep Powder, and other options such as that. So this is going to be more of a defensive team that whittles down the opponents slowly and recovers itself with wish passing and some recovery. So definitely looking forward to using this team. I think it's going to be fun, especially considering my team right now is a lot more offensive. I've missed defensive play, so I think I've gone like to the stall side so that I could play defensively in this one. So it could be interesting to see how this goes. So we have the league starting May 27th, 2020, which is actually the date of recording. And it's Wednesday to Wednesday, so 4 weeks from Wednesday to Wednesday. Really excited to see how this goes. This is not only a lot of new people, but a new format and a new style of play, so and new teams too. So really interested to see how people do. And I hope you enjoyed this initial thoughts video. This was way longer than I thought it was going to be honest. I spent a lot of time on each team, but hopefully this gives you a little sense of how these teams are. And maybe if you're facing a team, come stop by and watch what I had to say about it and how it functions. But yeah, really excited to see how this league goes. Really curious to see what strategies people pull off. Really excited to have a lot of newcomers. And thank you so much for watching and joining in. And let's jump into Oreburgh Gate preseason. This is a little test run of Oreburgh Gate, so hopefully you all like it. Enjoy! This is Noel from My Coronet. See ya in the weekly battles.